Hello.
Welcome to Queer Cinema Catchup. I'm Joe.
And I'm Allison.
And today
This is the podcast where we talk about movies, TV, and miscellaneous topics through a queer lens. And today
we're talking about a new movie in some ways, an old movie in others, but it's going to be the 2025 The Wedding Banquet, which is a remake from 1992, I believe.
I think it might be 1993.
Yeah.
And our producer, Will, is joining today, and he confirmed. He's very humble. He doesn't want to be seen.
The Wedding Banquet, released on April 18th, 2025, is a contemporary reimagining of Ang Lee's acclaimed 1993 film of the same name. Directed by Andrew Ahn, who also co-wrote the screenplay with James Schamus, this version brings a modern perspective to themes of love, family, expectations, cultural identity, and LGBTQ+ relationships set in present-day Seattle. And the cast, Bowen Yang, who plays Chris. Many listeners will know Bowen from his scene-stealing work on Saturday Night Live, where he became the first Chinese-American cast member and the first featured player to get an Emmy nomination. He's no stranger to queer cinema. He starred alongside Joel Kim Booster in the fantastic gay rom-com Fire Island, also directed by The Wedding Banquet's Andrew Ahn. He also had major roles in another gay rom-com, Bros.
A haunted house of gay trauma. I'm sorry, this is a ride? Yeah, it's a fucking ride!
In The Wedding Banquet, he brings his signature blend of humor and heart to Chris. One half of the lesbian couple at the story's core is the incredibly talented Lily Gladstone. Nominated for an Oscar for their phenomenal performance in Killers of the Flower Moon, Gladstone has quickly become one of the most compelling actors working today. Before The Wedding Banquet, they starred as a lesbian aunt in the acclaimed indie drama Fancy Dance and gained early recognition playing a lonely rancher yearning for Kristen Stewart's character in Certain Woman. It's fantastic to see them take on another significant queer role as Lee. Playing Lee's partner, Angela, is Kelly Marie Tran. Many first met her as the courageous Rose Tico in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. She also voiced the lead in Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon, a character many fans interpret as queer, something Tran herself supported. What's really special about her role in The Wedding Banquet is that during its promotion, Tran publicly shared that she identifies as queer, mentioning how working on this film is a supportive queer space that felt incredibly affirming. She also played an openly queer character in the Sorry for Your Loss. Hong-Gi Chan, playing Min, is Chris's boyfriend. Hong-Ji Chan is a rising star from South Korea who gained significant recognition for starring in the popular South Korean BL, or Boys Love, web drama Where Your Eyes Linger. That show was his debut and a major hit. The Wedding Banquet marks a huge step onto the international stage for him, playing another prominent gay character. Joan Chen, playing Angela's mother, Mei Chen. She's an icon of international cinema, known for classics like The Last Emperor and David Lynch's Twin Peaks. For fans of queer film, she's absolutely beloved for her role in Alice Wu's groundbreaking lesbian romantic comedy Saving Face, where she played the mother to a lesbian daughter. She also had a notable role opposite Anne Hesh in the erotic thriller Wild Side. In The Wedding Banquet, she brings her incredible presence to the role of a supportive, P-flag-involved mom, adding another fantastic queer-adjacent role to her filmography. Yeon Ye-jung plays Min's formidable grandmother. She captivated the world and won an Oscar for her unforgettable performance in Minari, and she's also known for her brilliant work in the series Pachinko and numerous acclaimed Korean films like The Housemaid. While she might not have specific queer roles in her past filmography, her character here is central to the film's exploration of family acceptance with depth, humor, and complexity. The Wedding Banquet premiered at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival and has been described as a poignant and funny film that balances its comedic premise with genuine emotional depth. It aims to honor the spirit of the original while offering a fresh and culturally authentic representation of LGBTQ+ experiences and family dynamics in a contemporary context. Would you agree?
I would agree.
I would agree also.
I endorse this message.
What did you think of the movie?
Well, Joe, Will and I saw it last night, and we may have missed the first 10 minutes of the movie, so we're actually hoping that you might be able to... Traffic. Traffic is work and traffic. We saw a 6:40 showing, and we both were working, and then we were going to take the bus. We ended up Ubering, and yeah, we just got there. And there weren't that many previews, to be honest. I was surprised. We were only like 20 minutes late.
You probably just missed the opening scene has them at a like benefit for whatever Joan Chen, the mom, like represents. Mm-hmm. And she gets an award for being like the best ally ever. Okay. And it starts off with those, you know, the Chinese dragon dancers.
Oh,
that's in like, it's like in the opening. And then so that's like how the movie starts off with their dancing and like the two, I'm like blanking on people's names, but Lily Gladstone and her partner like they're all like having fun. They sit down at the wedding table, or not wedding table, but banquet table. You immediately clock that Joan Chen is just kind of like overbearing in like a really hilarious way, kind of overshadowing her queer daughter. She goes up and accepts an award, and it's just like, it's hilarious. And then what's really funny is then it goes to the next scene, which maybe you guys walked in on, but they go to an art, like a college art show. And at the banquet ceremony, there was like, I don't think, maybe she was trans, maybe she wasn't, but there was like a queer character like comes out to like announce the award. And then when they're at this art show, they're like going through looking at all the artwork, and then all of a sudden the same Chinese dragon and that same queer woman pops out, and there's like doing like an announcement there. It's like, wow, she's getting a lot of business. She's working multiple events tonight.
Oh my gosh, this is actually so interesting because so spoiler alert, we're gonna flash way forward in the movie, but I loved the scene when
they show up in the Chinese dragons.
Yes, to propose. So basically, the plot of this movie is that two queer couples live together. One, Min, his visa's expiring. He proposes to his boyfriend who's not ready and has a lot of indecision and doubt about his life. Says no, devastating Min. And then Min and the character played by Marie Tran, not Angelica, Angela, decide to get married because she and her partner, played by Lily Gladstone, want to have a baby. And Min is very wealthy, which is part of the reason, oh my gosh, Bowen doesn't want to marry Min because he's worried it will ruin his life because his grandparents might take his money away from him, blah, 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 blah. He offers to give them money to try another round of IVF. And anyway, they go through with it all. They're at the courthouse, Min and Angela, to get married. And then Bowen shows up in the dragon to propose to Min. And it's very adorable because he takes off the mask, and before he can say anything, Min says yes, which I thought was so cute. But I was kind of like, the dragon feels a little random. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I was very moved by that scene, but I hadn't seen the initial beats to explain why that was a callback. You know what I'm saying?
And the fact that you didn't see the first 10 minutes, did you maybe think that it was a callback, or were you like,
there were so many things that Will and I were talking as we were leaving the theater that were like, that was probably a callback that we missed. That was probably a callback that we missed. But the dragon, it didn't occur to me because I just kind of accepted that it was a big showy proposal type thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cute enough, but I like it more knowing. Okay. But actually, we missed a little bit more than that because I came in when Angela and what was Lily Gladstone's character's name? Anybody remember? Lee.
Oh, Lee, yeah.
Were at the doctor. No, actually, that's not correct. I came in when Lee was at work speaking to her coworker and saying this time feels different about her pregnancy.
Okay.
So what else?
I mean, you just like missed setup. I think you just missed like the banquet in the beginning. You missed the art show.
And maybe a little bit of context about pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was some context I missed about Bowen's cousin. It was a cousin. But,
oh, yeah. Cousin, they met at the art show. You were introduced to them in the art show.
Okay, cool. So we're all caught up.
Okay.
But anyway, what was your question?
It was, what did you think of the movie?
I liked it a lot. But it is kind of my kind of movie, like a quiet, kind of character-driven thing.
Yeah.
So what did you think?
That was fine. I think some of my bigger problem, like, I feel like Marie Tran, like that character, I think was the lead of this movie.
Angela.
And I feel like in terms of her character arc, like we found out the director of this movie revealed that she was actually having a coming out experience.
Yes.
In the making of this movie. And I feel like from the get-go, like her character arc, like in the beginning, she's just as like, everything's just like very emotionally charged, whether she's like immediately like angry, immediately like crying, like just like so like intense in every emotion that I feel like there was like a lack of nuance. So it was like a little, I felt like it was never like building anything. It just with her character, just like it started out like at 100 at the beginning, and then like it was just like every time we'd cut to a scene with her, it was like at 100 again.
So that's interesting because I did miss the beginning. When I stumbled upon the characters, they were just experiencing the aftermath of a miscarriage, and I was like, "Whoa, this movie starts out intense. Heavy." With a lot of intense
did you
emotions.
See the part in the alleyway where Lily Gladstone and Kelly, they're like drunk in the alleyway?
Yeah, that was later. Well, unless there was multiple.
When Kelly says like Oh, maybe we don't need to have a child.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I thought that was an interesting. I kind of understand. I was thinking about you while I was watching the movie because it reminded me, you know how you always say in best friend movies, you dislike how it's kind of the situation where the characters are on two opposite train tracks heading for conflict and it feels very manufactured and inauthentic.
Yeah.
That it reminds some parts of this movie reminded me of you because it did feel like they were so perfectly like the fact that Bowen Yang's character Chris and Kelly Tron's character Angela were both these sort of people with doubts about the life path that they were on. Angela wasn't sure she wanted to be a mom. Chris wasn't sure he could commit.
Which I didn't see anything in this movie that like told me that like was going to change Bowen Yang's mind. Like, I don't know why, like if he was hesitant to begin with, like what changed him to be like, actually, I will marry you. And I'm going to take the opportunity to interrupt this wedding.
I think it was the cousin that changed his mind, but I understand what you're saying. So yeah, it felt like the way these like conflicts kind of crested at the same time. Like, oh no, we want a baby, we can't. Oh no, I'm proposing, and you're saying it was like a little too perfect. But I was able to pretend that was I was okay with the manufactured nature of it. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, just because I love character-driven movies too, like being invested in a story. But yeah, I just felt like the stakes of everything did just feel a little too like clean cut, and there like wasn't much like nuance behind it. I do think that like what surprised me, what I liked about the movie, and it really seemed to be the drive of the director, is this idea of like wanting to have a child. And as a queer person, there's like a specific dialogue in the movie. It's like it can't just like happen like on accident. That does like in a heterosexual relationship. It has to be something that's planned for. And the director even said that came from dialogue that he had with his real life partner, where the partner was like, they were having a discussion about having a child, and his partner was like, oh, we'll see what happens. And then the director was like, no, we can't see what happens. Like, we're gay. You have to like plan for that. You have to make an active decision. So I really liked that.
I loved that part
too. And so I think when the movie was focused on that area of like what to do around that, I was really engaged. All the stuff with Joan Chen, I was very engaged. She was
great.
Fucking electric. She was so hilarious. I was like crying, laughing every time with her. Bowen Yang, I love him. Didn't know if he was the audience that I saw with, they like definitely loved him, but I don't think it was like as strong. I thought he was stronger in Fire Island. Yeah. And then Lily Gladstone, I feel like was not utilized well in this movie, but I'm sure she was like very busy on other stuff. And another story the director shared at our talk back is that she actually, the night, like she was being offered the role and they're supposed to have a meeting the day after the Golden Globes. Oh. And the director was like, I'm feeling Lily Gladstone's going to win the Golden Globe for the Flowers movie, what's that movie called?
Killers of the Flower
Moon. She's going to win it, going to go out and party, and then she'll skip our meeting the next day. He was like anticipating that. She won. And then the next morning he like woke up and it was confirmed that she was coming to the meeting, and he told that story to her. And she's like, winning is fine, but that's like not why I'm in this line of work. I'm here to work, and I want to work, and I love this script, and I'd like to continue working.
That's exactly what she seems like as an outside observer. And I'm kind of shocked that was his thought. She seems very serious about her craft, and it took her a long time to find mainstream success. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that makes me kind of judge the director a little bit.
Oh, I think it just speaks more to the director's, like, he's a little like neurotic, like just how intense and how scary it is. And like any little thing, you're worried that like you have this amazing actor like Lily Gladstone could be in the movie, and you're waiting for like the one thing to happen that
to make it all fall apart.
But she didn't. She's also from Seattle, so it was very sweet that this is a Seattle set movie. I thought that was really great too. I was a little disappointed how I feel like a lot of the movie took place at the house.
And you wanted to see more Seattle?
Their little shack outside.
That was okay. That's like, I have two questions for you to follow up. One, I don't think you said yet. You didn't give the context yet of this talk back, so I just want to, maybe you could explain that. But also, I want to say, one thing that made it work for me was the generational component. So having Joan Chen and the grandmother's name, the same grandmother from Minari, the generational component made it work for me because I felt like the scenes with the older adults were very effective and funny.
And I don't think either of us have seen the original 1993 movie.
No.
But the biggest change, I think, from that movie, she's actually the mother. The person from Minari, that actor, is the mother, not the grandmother. And she doesn't realize, in this movie, it's very clear that she understands that her grandson is gay, but she doesn't want, she needs to keep the secret and keep up appearances for the grandfather, who's very homophobic.
Yes.
But in the original movie, the mother doesn't realize this. And so they're keeping up the facade for both of them.
I didn't realize it was the same actress in both movies.
It's not.
Oh, I thought you just said that.
It's a mother-son relationship in the original movie. It's a grandmother-grandson relationship in the second movie.
Dang, I thought you were saying that she had played the mother back in the day and now is playing I was like, that's amazing.
And another thing that speaks to the director being his thoughts on Lily Gladstone with the actor from Minari. I really should know her name, but I don't. He loved her as an actor. She's has a huge following. I think she's a Korean actor.
Yeah.
She has a huge following in Korea, and he wanted her in this movie, didn't know how she'd react to queer film, being in one. And then so he was talking to her about it, and she said she's actually really interested, and that she has a huge, specifically queer following in Korea.
Wow.
Her career, and she has a gay son, and her son loves Fire Island, and told her that she has to be in this movie.
That's so sweet.
The only hesitation she had about being in this movie is the fact that it was supposed to be a mother, and she's like, I feel like I'm too old to be the mother. And so that's why they changed it to the grandmother role.
Well, I really liked that. I think her name is Yeon Yu Jung.
Okay.
And the fact that she knew, but was kind of hiding that she knew for the sake of the family unit and reputation back in, because the idea was that they were a very important family in Korea. I don't know. I missed some of the context of
they have a fashion brand.
Okay. Well, makes sense because he was someone who made clothes. Okay.
Which was I thought was interesting is that he wanted to follow the path. He didn't want to be in the business per se, but he was still interested in fashion because he had his own.
I liked that too. Yeah. And then that was
also that actor, hilarious.
He was my favorite.
He was really funny.
He cracked me up. And then just at the end when they're all taking care of the babies. Yeah. And he's group hug.
That was really
I was like, that man is
okay. My frustrations of this movie, that ending scene really did warm my heart, that they're all living together, taking care of these babies.
It's so sweet. And for our audience, what ends up happening is they get the money from their gay male friends to have another try at IVF. Lily Gladstone wants to do the IVF, which I actually thought, especially when she spoke about that this house was in their family and it was keeping the house in native hands in a place like Seattle, and that she would want a child. I thought that really added a lot of depth to the child, to having a biological child in a way that felt very unique and not something I had seen before, and very moving. So that was going on. But then there's a scene where they all go out to have Angela's bachelorette party for this fake wedding. And both couples get into a fight. And so then Bowen Yang and Marie Tran continue to drink, continue to have a crazy time. There's a hilarious scene where they keep telling one another that they see each other. I see you, because they didn't feel seen growing up or whatever. And they end up sleeping together. And it did not occur to me that it was going to go with the pregnancy storyline, but that's what ends up happening. And so I thought that was really also kind of a unique kind of plot development. And so, in the end, there's 2 babies in the house and they all live together. It's very sweet and moving. But Joe, tell me more about, so you went to this talk back. What was the talk back?
So I got a membership for Film Independent out here in LA, and they invite members to a lot of screenings in the area, but they're usually all in the Santa Monica area. And occasionally they'll have them in the Hollywood area, which is a bit closer to me. And I'd ventured to Santa Monica, but these it's a 6 p.m. showing on a Tuesday night. So it's I can't really, it's quite an investment to go across town to go see them. But the Wedding Banquet popped up and it was going to be playing at a Hollywood screening here. So I got a ticket for that. And I originally thought that it was going to be the director and Bowen Yang. I was really excited. It just turned out to be the director, but it was still really exciting that he was awesome. There. And it was a cool experience, seeing it, I think a few days before it got its wide release. But it was cool. And he came out afterwards and just really like I kind of already told those beats of like some of his like casting worries, like really like being like emotionally invested in this movie just because he also said that like his mom and him like watched the 93 version together, like rented it, and she like didn't even realize it was a gay film, and he at the time was still like questioning his sexuality, and it was actually the first gay film that he'd ever seen, or like a movie with like gay representation, so like it really had an effect on him. And I'm sure the fact that I'm pretty sure the 93 version, is it a Korean film?
I think it's Chinese.
Okay, it's a Chinese film. And so I think to see like that, like different representation in that way was probably like really important for him too. And yeah, he just seemed really like humble and just seemed to be like a really great, sweet person. I was kind of surprised that he's the same guy that directed Fire Island just because it's such a different vibe. And he said that he directed Fire Island like just and it's like a bunch of like gay men in their like late 20s, early 30s. And he's like said it was just such like a wild environment. And he said after filming that, it was like so intense. He like doesn't want to, he wants some more women on set just to help balance the dynamic. And it's like interesting to see that
presence.
Yeah. And I think maybe he's my age or a little older, but it's really interesting because like Fire Island, I feel like really deals with like your place in like the queer gay community and like in that sense, like trying to find your person or like what like relationship dynamic works for you. And then I thought that the Wedding Banquet really complemented some growth in terms of like if you choose to like go like to be like in like one relationship, like do you want to have like children? Do you not have children? So like it was asking a new question that I think evolved in a really nice way. And then like for me personally, like being 34, it was like really, I thought it was like really fitting for myself too, like to like, because it's definitely like a question that I have, and I think it's like really important to see it on the screen. I think, and especially like someone who's like someone who's like 16 or 17, like that's a queer person that like watches this film. Like I think it's like great for them to like to be able to like reflect and like think about their future and something that they can like that it is possible, something that you can work towards. So I thought really like it's, while I give the movie flack for some of its like plotting, I feel like that's just like more of my like immediate gut reaction to it. But truly, I think it was a really good movie, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense because yes, like one, templates for younger people to see what their future might look like, but then also what you're saying about being a queer person, being a certain age and seeing different types of movies. So yeah, you want to see the entire lifespan represented, and that is really lacking in media because queer representation is lacking in general. It's gotten a lot better. But yeah, something like Fire Island might be like a coming of age almost narrative in a very specific setting with a very specific group of people. And then you move to this other version that maybe is a little bit older, a little bit more mature. And I thought there was a lot, like they talked about age with Lily Gladstone being slightly older than her partner and how that would impact IVF. And then the question of marriage came up, and Lily Gladstone's character said something like, I don't believe in the institution, but I love going to weddings.
Yeah. I love that was a great moment with Lily Gladstone. I love weddings. They're so fun. That was good.
So yeah, and they just had all these different, and then like even the idea of queer couples who, someone from another country that has a different cultural reaction to queerness, and how marriage becomes a different decision when there's also that component of like, I don't want to go back to my home country, but it's not about that. I love you. Like it just had like a lot of adult and like what's family, chosen family versus your biological or family of origin. Yeah, it definitely was kind of like, it's cool to see that he went from fire. I kind of do see the connective tissue because it kind of is like moving people through certain phases. And hey, maybe next it'll be a middle-aged queer movie. Hey. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I want to see.
He didn't talk about his upcoming projects. I'm sure if I like checked out his Wikipedia, he has some stuff coming up, but I didn't see. Yeah. Any other thoughts that come to mind about the movie?
I thought the grandmother saying that, kind of being transformed by her experience coming to the States and seeing her son and everything. One, I was so surprised. I thought the whole movie was going to be about them pretending that this was real and the grandmother being hoodwinked. But she finds out within the first like 10 minutes of being there, which was hilarious. Like she immediately, she's like, this is a sham marriage.
Yeah. Not even finds out. She's like, I kind of thought you were gay. What's going on?
Yeah. And then she's like, who is she blackmailing you? No, she's gay too. That's even worse. But then, when she later on says, I didn't get to marry the person that I loved. Mm-hmm. So I want you to be able to do that someday. I thought that was really, it felt just really different, but it did kind of fall back into that. Joe and I have talked about this before. We notice in a lot of queer films with couples, there's always some dead parents. It's almost like the narrative can't handle. It's like, well, there's just, we can't figure out what how they would react. It's just too much. So we need to just kill them off.
Yeah. Why can't they both be alive?
Why can't all the parents be alive? Yeah. But I understand. I think that actually was a very smart, the fact that she felt too old to play the mother. I think that's nice to update it to be a different kind of narrative.
But this movie's called The Wedding Banquet. And so I thought it was going to be like leading to this like really
big wedding, like
crazy extravagant wedding. And I apologize. Like I haven't seen the original and I don't know how it plays out in that movie, but I thought it was like all going to lead and that was going to like be a big chunk of the movie or like the crescendo. Yeah,
totally.
Like it's all leading to the climax of that. There's funny moments that happen in the wedding, but it definitely felt like a little more like montagey and rushed. I was like, oh, we're kind of like, it's like, we're going to have this wedding next week and there's going to be, I was like, oh, and then it happened. And yeah, there were funny moments, but it didn't take up the majority of the film. It was more about like the before and after of the wedding banquet itself.
That's so true.
And so, so I don't know the plot of the original, but I would assume that in the original movie, the mother discovers during the wedding banquet.
That's what when I saw the trailer, that's what I imagined would happen, that it would all lead to the wedding itself. And at the wedding, these secrets would come out and, it would have a happy ending was kind of my prediction. And it did have a happy ending.
And then so I kind of like that my assumptions about the wedding banquet, like something was going to happen then. I guess the discovery at the wedding banquet is that Angela finds out that she is pregnant, which is a pretty, and even when she threw up, I didn't quite connect what was happening. I thought
I was like, oh, they're going to go down a
she was
pregnancy.
Just dizzy. I was like, oh, she threw up. She turns out to be pregnant. Great moment. Like Joan Chen.
That was my favorite moment in the movie.
This is our second time talking about a movie with Joan Chen in it.
I know.
She was in Dee Dee that we talked about in a previous episode.
Yes.
She is so good at being funny. And in this movie, she has a little more bite to her, which was great to see. But when she needs to get like personal and emotional, she can like do it still in a funny way. And so I forget what the specific line is, but like Angela's like really upset, and Joan Chen is like, what's going on? Like, tell me. And she reveals that she's pregnant. She's like, I don't know how like I'm going to be as a mother. Like something along the lines of like because I had you as a mom, like I was like always afraid of not being the best mother. And what was Joan Chen's line? She goes,
no. So Angela doesn't say any of that. It's all kind of subtextual. But she said it before in other scenes to other people. And then Joan Chen goes, maybe you'll be you're a mom. You do what you can. You'll do the best you can. Maybe you'll be a worse mom than me or something like that. But that whole scene, I loved it so much because the mom was kind of made out to be this big narcissist who, first of all, rejected or ignored her daughter's sexuality as a child,
which was revealed later on. You don't know that at the beginning. So at the beginning, you're like, oh, she's like this really like, why is she so embarrassed by her mom when she's so accepting? But it's revealed at a dinner that like she wasn't initially accepting. When she found out that she could kind of turn it into like a vanity project for herself, a personality, that she's like benefiting off her daughter in a very narcissistic
That's
way.
kind of how I interpreted it as that. But then the scene in the bathroom changed my mind a little bit, where it was like the mom, yes, maybe she's a little narcissistic, but the mom feels guilty for how she reacted, cannot explain it to her daughter, and so chooses to lean in so intensely to this ally role in a way that takes up so much space, not understanding how that's actually harming her daughter more. And she said something like, you've taught me so much, you'll learn. You'll learn as you are a mom if you want to do that. It was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful. I loved that scene.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to go see the movie right now and just watch that scene again.
Yeah.
But Joan Chen, I remember when we were watching Dee Dee, I brought this up too. She's also in another queer movie we should do on the podcast from the early 2000s called Saving Face, which is
I added it on our list because the director brought it up. He was like, Joan Chen actually had a queer daughter in another movie. So
it's a good movie. It's really good.
You've seen it?
Yeah. When I went on an early queer date. They were like, have you seen But I'm a Cheerleader? I was like, no. And they're like, have you seen Saving Face? And I was like, no. They're like, ugh, okay. And they just judged me for never seeing any queer
so you watched it on your own as homework.
Yeah. We didn't continue dating.
I would hope not.
But I was like, okay, I guess I gotta prevent anyone from asking me that, my answer being no again. It was good. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's possible actually that I'm misremembering, and I actually watched it in my queer representation in pop culture class, but that's whatever. Doesn't really matter.
You saw it.
I think we should go through each of the 4 main characters and describe their especially because you were saying that some of the character work didn't feel earned for you. I think we should talk through what we think their hangups were. Maybe. Okay. Who do you want to start with?
Let's start with the Korean guy.
Min, played by Han Ji-chan,
who was casted because he was, now I don't know what this quite means, but he was in BL movies in Korea, which stands for Boys Love. So he became like famous through that, which I think are like very like romantic, sappy, gay movies, maybe.
Okay.
But in terms of like him being in this movie, I felt like, yes, he was living in the US as a student. And so he is able to like be here for that, but his schooling is coming to an end. And then thus like him being able to stay in the United States might come to an end unless he finds like a work visa or unless he gets married. And so he's kind of motivated because his grandmother / grandfather really wants him to come back to Korea to run the business. And he doesn't want to do that. He has a relationship. He loves being in the US. And so he's kind of conflicted. Like he like loves Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
But it's like unclear whether he like really wants to marry him or like because he loves him or if it's just convenient from Bowen Yang's perspective. But I had some questions around that.
I don't know. Actually, I thought the movie did a really good job of, like when you hear, if you were to describe that scenario to me for a real life couple, I'd be like, okay, so that's a little complicated. I can see why the other person's feeling a little conflicted. But I thought they did a really good job of demonstrating that Min, yes, it was weird timing, but he really thought that Chris was going to say yes and actually just didn't care what the repercussions were in terms of his family and the fact that he might lose everything in terms of acceptance and the money he can receive from being in this wealthy family. Yeah. So I kind of did buy that he was like all in spite of the logistical circumstances. Yeah. But
he never didn't want to marry Chris.
I know. He said there was like a throwaway line where he's like, I bought the ring before I knew my visa was about to expire or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I mean, yeah.
But it was pretty convenient that I was like, oh, we'll just get married.
It was.
And then I feel like his conflict was like pretty straightforward.
It was.
Bowen Yang was a little hard for me to understand why he was so hesitant.
I think I understood a little bit. One thing I'll add to Min very quickly before I move to Bowen is that I did appreciate how he was in this really stressful circumstance, but he was always very positive. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, he was very
like he didn't drag anyone down.
No, it was always like comedic too. He seemed kind of like an airhead in a way, but he wasn't. Like he would just
exactly.
He was just like whatever opposite like emotional reaction you'd expect from him, he would do the opposite to like a comedic degree that was kind of seemed intentional to directly diffuse.
Yeah, like when he finds out that Angela's pregnant with his boyfriend's baby, he was like, so like he didn't have, it was hilarious to me and very in life I strive to be like a Min. I don't think I succeed, but that's who I want to be to other people. Okay. So Bowen, my thought on his character was that growing up, he had a lot of pressure and expectation put upon him. He said that at one point in the movie. But eventually his family came around to accepting who he was. But he had been kind of, I missed, what was his PhD program? I missed, was he a birder? Was it about birds?
He's a birder now.
Oh, I couldn't tell if he liked birds because that's what he was studying in school or if that was just like a funny thing.
Oh, did you miss the scene where he like takes people out on Bird Scout? Like
that's how he's so much. What the hell?
That's how he's introduced. He's like showing people around Seattle, and they're like walking around like taking pictures of birds. Yeah, he's a birder is his main career.
Okay, but he was in a PhD program at some point in time, and apparently he went to a lot of prestigious schools. And at some point, he backs out of all of this. He doesn't feel like he's enough, and he's with this we just said, this great guy who's super understanding, super in love with him, right? Who wants the whole package, and Chris is like thinking to himself, no, I can't do that because I'm just going to let him down. Like I let everybody down. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And so the indecision was about not wanting to commit to these things because you're afraid it's not going to work. That's kind of what I interpreted it as.
My only yes, I think that's all like baked into the character, and I saw that. The only thing is they live together, and so there already had to be conversations about like those like logistics. And I think when you like move in with a person too, I feel like questions about like where the relationship is going, like it's one thing to like be like, oh, like let's be boyfriends, like you can kind of like half commit to that if you want, like you can always like back out of that. But to like live with someone, I feel like that's quite a life altering decision. And so how like marriage did never come up, having kids never came up, like that's where I found it a little like unbelievable that like but like that they never had this conversation before.
I think that there is a world where people who really love each other can move in together without having the big conversations because they're afraid it's going to break what they have. And you just kind of, you can like, imagine dating someone and then you wake up, it's been 10 years and I definitely think that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you're like, we didn't talk about these big things because nobody wanted to rock the boat.
Yeah.
Or and now it's like time to do it. And one person's like, wait, I didn't really think about this. I just kind of took it one day at a time. Yeah. And now I'm panicked because I don't know if this is right.
And it's like, it's been 10 years. You've had 3,650 days to consider this.
And you're like, but I need more time.
If I could just get 3,000 more days.
As an indecisive person, I appreciated Bowen Yang's role in the film.
It's kind of, and I don't think this is the movie. I think it was like, I think I saw somewhere else, but how millennials specifically, how we're the generation of indecision.
It was that the line was in the film. The cousin said it.
Okay.
I was like, damn.
I was like, clocked.
I was like, damn, I need to leave the theater.
I got here 10 minutes late. I'm going to leave 10 minutes early.
I really liked that line. It was interesting. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the girls. What was going on with Lee?
She really wants a child, and they've been trying IVF for quite some time, and it's failed for one reason or another. Like, and now it seems to be that she's really running out of time because there is unfortunately a biological clock connected to it, like the amount of success that you can have a child. And so in the movie, like they're doing the IVF process, she's having really good feelings about it. And then again, it fails. And then so in addition of like this failing again, then conversations come up between her and her partner of like, okay, like, well, this, I guess this more speaking to Angela now. Angela's like, what if we just like travel? Like we don't have a child. And then I'm like, Lee's like, what the fuck are you talking? Like I've told you from the get-go, this is the thing that I want the most.
I have had 2 miscarriages at this point. What are you saying?
Does Angela change? She's like, oh, I mean, like when the kids like grow up, we could like travel a bit.
That's what at the end, she said, she's like, when they reconnect, she's like, when the baby goes to college, we're going to have a great time. It was really sweet, actually.
Lee was like she was probably the least involved in this movie out of all the characters.
Yeah. I feel like maybe the one, except for because it was kind of an external circumstance. She's like, I know what I want. It's not working, so I'm sad, but I'm not like questioning myself. Like, she's like, I know what I have to do if I don't have this child. Like maybe I can't have this house anymore. Like she's sad about a lot of external circumstances, but she's very rooted in contrast to her partner. And that's why I think that she's able to, unlike Min, who's like, okay, you're pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. It's fine. I still want to be with my boyfriend. Lee is like, no, I'm breaking up with you. She ends up coming back, but she kind of knows exactly who she is and what she wants in a way that maybe some of the other characters don't.
Also, I thought it was interesting. Angela, we know who her mom is. She's a character in the story. Mm-hmm. Min, we know who his grandmother is, but Lee doesn't have any family that we meet.
She mentioned her dad, and I
the
assumed
house
he had
that was
passed
built.
away.
I'm sorry, he died. That she inherited the house that he built, and she always imagined this room to be the room that they would have the child in together, which is sweet because at the end of the movie, that's where the cribs are.
That's the last shot too, is the window.
But, like Bowen Yang, we don't ever meet his parents?
His parents live in Kansas.
Okay.
Where there's a lot of white people.
Oh,
that's what Joan Chen, I think, or no,
yeah,
the grandmother says.
But for some reason, I got like more access to like Bowen because I think he was like more involved in the movie, whereas Lily Gladstone's character, like when she discovers that Angela is pregnant, which is fucking devastating. It's
also
shocking.
extremely wrong in my mind that she tells Chris and Min first and not her partner. I was like, that's a slap in the face.
Who wants to have a child very badly.
Not only this happened, but you told everybody else to know. I'm humiliated in front of everybody.
The thing is, like, I couldn't help wonder, like, Lee understandably is devastated, really upset.
Yeah.
Like, closes up, doesn't talk, gets in her car and drives off. Mm-hmm. Where does she go? Like, we don't know who she is. Like, where
I assume she has friends.
I know, but I kind of like, I would have been interested to like,
I hear
when
you.
she like once she leaves the story, it's like, oh, now that she's not tied into any of these other three characters, we don't get to see what she's up to. Whereas Min, we see him at the office interacting with his grandma. Like, we never get a scene with Lily or.
Do you think it was scheduling related? Is that why?
I absolutely, yeah. But it kind of, for me, kind of like weakened the movie that we don't get to see her. So she disappears. And also during the almost wedding that happens between Min and Angela, where Bowen interrupts it, I was expecting and anticipating Lily Gladstone to be there. She wasn't there. I was like, what the fuck is going, like, what do you mean she's not there?
Only
when they go back to the house, she's out in the garden gardening.
She's gardening. Was that a callback? The gardening?
I don't think. Well, okay. The director he was like, it's so sweet. Like, she wants to like Mother Earth, like parenting. She's like out in the garden being
I was
Mother Nature, I think is what she was saying.
I have a very dark thing to say is that I was worried that she was so messed up that I thought this. I was like, is she taking like a memorial?
I thought I was wondering. There's no way.
This is so upsetting.
In hindsight, there's no way that it could happen this way. But I almost wondered if the IVF didn't take. But that's like
I thought that would have been too upsetting.
It would have been way too intense. But yeah, it's like Lily Gladstone wasn't there, not tied into this like at the courthouse.
Right.
But then in the talk back, the director was saying that initially Lily was supposed to be outside the courthouse when they walk out, and they're supposed to make up there. But he said, this is what he claims, is that the setting wasn't right for them to meet there. And it seemed wrong that Lee would be outside the courthouse. And so
why wouldn't she just go in?
Yeah.
My question. Why was she waiting outside?
And he's like, it seems much more fitting that she'd be at the backyard of the garden. There's more fitting there. And like, sure, whatever. But I think
she could have come.
I think it was like a scheduling thing where it's like, can we really get Lily Gladstone to a new set? Because I think a lot of this movie is set at the house, and like Lily Gladstone is kind of like bound to the house. So when she like leaves on her little side quest of like devastation, it's like, well, sorry, like scheduling conflict, we can't show where she goes.
All right, I hear you. Yes, although I actually did not mind that she wasn't at the court. I expected her to be at the courthouse, but I thought it was really effective when that was very funny where they swap out the spouse to get married and the judge is like, what's going on? Like, it was all hilarious.
That was funny.
And you're kind of living in this like lovely moment. Min says yes before Bowen can even get the words out. Like, it's so cute. And they all are together. And then Angela just kind of falls into the background of this and you kind of focus on her sad face. And I thought and she's not sad about what's happening between Min and Chris, but she's sad that Lee's not there. And I thought that was really moving. And kind of leaving that question hanging over the audience of like, are they going to reunite? Even though we know that they are. You know, it's like it does kind of create
a romantic
some
comedy is that they'll get back together.
Yes, they'll all reconcile. Interesting. I mean, so Lily, I kind of though have a question about this. Is that I do feel like Lily Gladstone and Bowen Yang are similarly big stars.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. Yeah. I mean,
and Bowen is like on SNL. I truly don't understand.
When does he sleep? And he's a podcast. What is he? We have a podcast and I know how much time it takes.
This is why we want to talk about the Wedding Banquet actually, is to express our concerns for Bowen Yang.
Bowen, are you okay?
And we want to say that we wish him well.
We do. Okay. All right. And then finally we have Angela's character, who we've talked about a lot. I guess.
So I brought this up at the beginning of the podcast. Would you say, I've already given my answer. Would you say, yes, there's like 4 people that the story kind of revolves around, but would you say there's a lead of this movie? Like, who is if you had to choose one main character, who would it be?
I wish I had seen the beginning, but I would say that Angela is the driving force in that, yes, Min does the proposal and then Min and Lee suggest this crazy idea, but it is Angela who decides, who goes and's like, yeah, we're going to do this, right?
Because they want to have a child and it's really expensive to do the process. And Min comes from a very wealthy family.
Yeah. Like Min and Angela drive the plot, I guess. And then the baby, okay. Yeah. But also this is reminding me to ask. This is Angela gets pregnant. You know what I mean? Like,
you were like, and the baby. And I thought you were just about to launch into your problems with the baby.
And the baby.
The babies in this movie.
Those babies were not good actors. No, they were very cute. Especially the one that Lily was holding that was closest to the camera. I was like, you are so cute.
Well, I was like, was it really crying? And then there's really sweet, that seemed like real moment where like Min goes up to Chris to like hold the baby. But then Chris is like, no, he like turns and like walks and like continues holding the baby. I was like, I think that was like a real moment where
he's like, I want to hold the baby.
Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Well, I was just going to ask a question. This is more of like, what would you do? Would you, now I'm not judging anyone in the movie for their choices, of course, but would you do this? Would you accept money in exchange for a sham wedding to do something very important to you?
I mean, if everyone was in on it, maybe.
I don't know if I would do it.
Having a child is expensive. And I feel like they're not hurt. I don't know.
No, it's all lovely. Like, especially because they all remained a unit afterward. You know what I mean? But yeah.
But if it was more than if Min had other motives, or if he like was truly a villain and just wanted to marry to stay in the country, like didn't give a flying fuck about Bowen, which would be a much different movie, but would be very interesting.
An interesting one. That would be really interesting. That would be really interesting movie.
Yeah.
I would watch it too. Okay, I was just curious, if given the opportunity.
On a scale of good to evil, how evil are you, Joe?
That's going to be a new segment on the podcast every week. How evil are you, Joe?
Every episode, I become more and more evil.
Did you have any favorite jokes? I have one favorite joke.
I mean, it's been a hot minute. I saw this like in early April.
Okay.
Anything with like Joe and Chen, I thought I just was like, I was dying laughing at everything she was doing.
My favorite part or joke was when they're at the photo shoot, the wedding photo shoot, and Angela and Min are chatting and looking over at Joe and Chen and the grandmother speaking to one another, and they're like kind of like having this intense conversation. And then one of them's like, what do you think they're talking about? And the other one's like, they're talking about that we're gay, or like the fact that we're gay. I thought that was so funny.
Aren't they like they're like laughing too?
And then they're like hugging, and it's like, yeah. It's
like yeah, that's totally what it is. That's totally, yeah.
It's like, it was so funny to me. I was like, yeah, that
wasn't there something too about like, yeah, Joe like invites her to one of the like ally
to the PFLAG
group meetings, and it's like
meetings, and
what is it something about like all we do is laugh and cry or something like that?
She was like, yeah, she invited me to this group, and then Angela's like, or no, sorry, Min's like, yeah, Americans, they like groups a lot. And
yes,
and then everyone cries and laughs, and he's like, yeah, that's what happens with Americans. And she goes, oh, okay, so she's just American, she's not crazy.
Yeah, that was great.
There were so many hilarious lines.
Yeah, and I love it too, just like the idea of like people from a Chinese family, people from a Korean family, but then it's like even more different that because it's a Chinese American, and then like someone from Korea visiting, like it just like changes the dynamic of like
it does,
like because they both have similarities, sure, like that they both come from very like traditional countries, but that one has kind of like adapted,
right,
to,
and
like,
has more knowledge, has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I also love that part too at the wedding. This joke really worked on me because Min says to Angela, they're both in traditional wedding attire. Yeah. And he's like, you're like Padma, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Padme. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? She's like, what? And he says it again. And she's like, what? And he goes, from Star Wars, and you call yourself an American? And I was just dying because I had no idea what he was talking either. So the joke really, but then of course, I also, the second it connected my brain, I was like, oh, I remember that character.
Pull
like I remember
picture
the scene.
Of Padme and you'll know exactly who he's referring to. Yeah, that was great too. Yeah, how there were just so many like interesting traditions, which I'm sure they were like accurately portraying it, but it was like the most like traditions to the fact that they're like throwing like nuts into a blanket to decide how many children they'll have, and then
nobody knows.
No, Angela's like, which ones are the girls and which ones are the boys, and then they're like, nobody can figure out. Like, I don't remember. I would say I don't remember. And then the cousin's like, that means they're all non-binary.
19 non-binary children. Yeah, I love that because it shows that tradition's important and it has a lot of weight, a lot of meaning. And younger generations don't always know why, but they know it's important. But then it kind of reflected that back on the older generations and being like, well, maybe none of us really remember why it's important, but it's important.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a fun way of underscoring that.
Do you have any family traditions that are like unique to your family that you enjoy?
I feel like so many of the things that are coming to mind are very generic. You know what I'm saying?
Throw it out there. Let's hear it.
I don't know. Like my mom makes a cake for everybody on their birthday.
Now that is unique.
I'm trying to think of my extended family.
Is it a certain kind of cake? Does she curate it to each person? Like
it's dealer's choice, birthday person's choice.
Are you not going to tell us what cake you want? What cake do you get? Give us the details.
It's the one I've made, the peanut butter chocolate cake.
Oh, that's a good one.
Or actually, I like this peppermint chocolate cake, and I feel like I can request it for my birthday because Christmas is coming. You know what I mean? I'm an end of November birthday person. What about you? Any big traditions? Or
it's a tradition that I'm really disappointed hasn't continued. Since we're on the topic of cakes, you guys made me a choo-choo train cake many years ago.
It wasn't that many years ago.
You haven't continued the tradition.
Well, Joe, choo-choo rhymes with 32, and you are no longer 32. So we have to create a rhyming cake for you every year.
35. What should it be? 35. Time to die.
Time to do crime. Okay. Time to die.
It could be a horror
time to do
cake.
Crime and then it's time to die. 35. Time to die.
35. Wine and dine.
That's good. I feel like 35 is the age of wining and dining. You know, because it just feels like a really substantial, real adult
35.
age.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really do want to see the original now. So maybe we'll have to do that at some point in time on the podcast. Yes.
Will's raising his finger.
Go for it.
So the original, I haven't seen it either, but I did some research on it. Of course, Ang Lee, the great Ang Lee, directed the original. I think it was the second film. It's part of a trilogy of films called the Father Trilogy, I believe, or something like that, about families. But what's interesting is in the original, it's a gay couple, of course, but the woman is not part of a gay couple. She is part of an interracial couple, and her parents don't accept that she's with a white man.
Okay.
So there's no monetary exchange.
Oh.
It's just they're putting on this traditional Chinese wedding to appease her parents. But in the process, they end up having sex and having a child. I believe it's the two leads, both of Asian descent. And so I just wanted to say, it's interesting that monetary part is removed from the
see.
And that it's an interracial couple instead of a lesbian couple.
Was the visa still a component?
I believe so.
Okay.
Let me look that up. Yes, he needs a green card.
Okay.
So I wonder I think maybe it was maybe not that big of a callback, but Joan Chen jokingly says, "Oh, should we have a Chinese wedding now?" And it sounds like it could be a callback to the fact that the Wedding Banquet, the original, is a Chinese wedding.
That's really cute. I like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that to update it, they made it even queerer by having two queer couples. I love that. I think, if you're going to do it in 2025, make it more gay,
Make it more gay.
And what's interesting is that they still get married in the original.
Okay.
So the gay man and
the woman.
Well,
they fall
and that's
through
reflective of the fact that times have changed because he needed to do that in order to get the visa. And nowadays you would not need to do that because you could marry whomever you like. But so that's actually a very beautiful change because in the past version of the movie, if they had decided not to get married, he would have been deported and there would have been no recourse.
Oh, so the transition from Fire Island to the Wedding Banquet is showing the director's change in his life and how it reflects his life. And then the Wedding Banquet, the original versus the remake, is showing in terms of time. It's like a time
capsule.
Time capsule of what's
Although
changed.
now I am questioning myself a little bit because if you have a civil service, maybe that's not accurate. Maybe they could have, you know what I'm saying? They could have.
You could get, can you be like, well, there was a term for it, but you couldn't like marry. You didn't, it wasn't the same
Like a
as
partnership.
Yeah, it was like some type of partnership.
I don't know.
A civil union, isn't that
That's
what it's called?
the word. Yeah, what? Okay.
A civil union is a legally recognized relationship between two people that provides some or all the rights and responsibilities of marriage at the state level. It was primarily created as a way to offer legal recognition to same-sex couples before the widespread legalization of same-sex marriage. Allison, what is the name of the case that made same-sex marriage legal?
Obgerfell versus, I forget,
It's in your short story.
Yeah. I know, but I always remember Obgerfell because it's such a distinct name, and then the next name I'm not sure.
In 1993, in the United States, civil unions for gay couples did not exist legally at the state level.
Yeah, it was in 2000 in Vermont was the first move toward civil unions. And then Connecticut, New Jersey, New Hampshire followed until...
Don't Ask, Don't Tell was enacted for the U.S. military in 1993.
By Bill Clinton.
I realized it was like so relatively recent. And
I know.
Disbanded in like the 2010s, right?
Let's hope it stays that way, but yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it is accurate to say that this movie kind of reflects the changes that we've undergone in the past 25 plus years, which is awesome and exciting.
Final note for them.
Yes.
Well, that this has the same writer as the original as well.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
What Joe, something you said, and knowing that piece of information too, I think it's so cool that as a child, this is teen, however old the director was when he saw this film, the original, to think about that as like a filmmaker, to then get the opportunity to create an updated version of the film that was so influential to your own coming of age, I think is incredible. And then for the writer to get to revisit a film at an older age, I just think that's
a really it's like an exciting practice to get to do, to like revisit something. And as like time changed, like how amazing would that be for you to like write a movie, Allison, and then like in 20 years after like times have changed, you get to like, you have a chance to like update it and be part of that project.
I could only be so lucky to have such an influential, impactful film, and then 25 years later still be alive and with it enough.
You can do it. What's the positive writing that we can put on your birthday cake for turning 34?
Oh,
34, time to score.
Nice.
A winning screenwriting motion
You
picture.
love coming up with titles for my projects that don't exist.
Well, thank you so much for listening to our episode about The Wedding Banquet, the 2025 version directed by Andrew Ahn.
Like and subscribe to our podcast on various platforms like Spotify and Amazon and on YouTube.
We'll do Saving Face soon.
Yes, we will. And if you have other recommendations for queer films, particularly maybe from the 90s or early 2000s that you would like to hear us discuss, please send us an email at queercinemacatchup@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.